Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Hanging with the Hoopers podcast. Andrew and Tim Hooper, your hosts,
Boom.
where we believe the attitude of leadership is everything. So great to be back with you. It's been a fabulous new year so far. Market conditions and inflation with notwithstanding. Tim, I'm excited for today.
I really am.
What are we talking about, brother?
Man, we've been in the field with our agents all across the mid-Atlantic. Our agents touch a lot of different industries, right? And with the inflation, the economy the way it is, we've heard the question over and over, like, how's morale? How's the morale of your team? We've seen layoffs, we've seen things happen, and we also see different industries with massive job growth. So like overall, it's kind of hard to pinpoint, but I think every industry can go through can pinpoint a time where they went through some form of churn or layoff or downturn or whatever the case may be, or maybe had a big shift, a big leadership change, and the morale overall was low, dropped off. But we've been asked, how is morale? And I really got to thinking about that as Andrew, as you know, work on this remodel for mom-in-law. And we elected to blow in the insulation. We looked at all the advantages. Yes, the price was hefty, but man, the energy savings down the road, the long term, was fantastic. And I wanted to have it blown in and nice and tight for her. And by the way, she's keeping the AC on like 62 or something like that. It's so tight. It's awesome. So anyway, so good job, mama. Just saving on the electric bill. So here's the deal, right? We blew the insulation in, and while it's frigid, remember we got like -2 degrees, the polar vortex that hit the US. While it's -2 degrees outside, it's toasty inside. I mean, so toasty the windows are sweating. You know what I'm talking about? And I got to thinking, morale is a lot like that. It's not isolating yourself, putting your head in the sand, acting like everything's good and it's just going to all blow over. No, there are some real tough things we have to do in leadership in a downturn, in a situation, in an industry when something bad happens. However, there is an insulation that we can proactively blow into our company, the framework, the architecture of our company, so that our team and our employees stay warm while it's frigid outside. I'm sharing that story because it's a perfect metaphor.
It really is.
I believe morale, and I looked it up. Did you know by definition, and we're going to unpack this definition. This is what the podcast is going to be about today. Give you practical, where the rubber meets the road, how to increase the morale of your team. But did you know by definition, morale is something you choose, okay? It is the confidence, enthusiasm, and discipline. Confidence, enthusiasm, and discipline of a person or group at any particular time. That's what morale is. That's period. That's the definition. And it was an epiphany for me, bro. It was like, morale is not an emotion. Morale is not even a mood. I always thought morale was kind of the overarching mood. No, morale is the confidence, enthusiasm, and discipline of a person or group of people at any given point of time. So therefore, morale is chosen, then built. It's chosen, then further developed. So let's unpack building confidence, inspiring enthusiasm, and practicing discipline as teams today. Because right now, especially right now, it matters. So like when I say confidence, I'm going to pass the baton to you. What comes to mind from a leadership and the attitude of leadership and building that confidence with your team during tough times?
As I listened to you explain that great analogy with the house, I kind of thought of where we hear the word morale a lot. And I think we hear it a lot in like military sense. If you watch any military movies, how's the morale, right? Low or high? And it makes sense. Do your troops know, are they confident in the plan, right? And are they disciplined with the plan, and are they enthusiastically pursuing the plan?
Wow. Confident.
So,
wow.
From a leadership perspective, setting that, and I'm going to try to loop this in, like make this make sense here. So jump in if you need to, but leadership, the morale of the team does come from your leadership. It's set, but it's owned by the employee group, right? Of how they go out and execute the morale of the team.
Right.
So when you're thinking about the kind of market we're in right now, if we are uncertain as leaders, if we're not being consistent as leaders, I view it as, have you told your team, hey, it's going to be like this for a while. But if we go do X, Y, and Z consistently and enthusiastically, we are all going to be okay.
Yep.
And we are all going to build our business, and we're all going to grow through this time. To me, that creates the frame, if you will, that your entire employee group can be like, okay, cool. I don't need to be freaking out that I'm not hitting my volumes that I was hitting before.
Right.
I don't need to be freaking out. You basically give your team permission to go be enthusiastic and disciplined in X, Y, Z, because you have, as a leader, have set the tone and the morale. So morale of the troops is up when they're taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. Think about some of the necessities that you need when you're going through a market like this, investing in the team in the right ways. We've done podcasts in the past on investing in your team, right? And putting your people before profits. That's a great one to check out if you haven't checked that one out yet. And I think it ties into this. So giving your team what they need, but also giving them inspiring the confidence by giving them the things they can go be disciplined and enthusiastic with.
Yes.
So does that make sense? I tried to, those were my thoughts as I was listening to you. And one more thing I wanted to kind of throw in, I like to look at this from a personal perspective too, because I think we can draw a lot of parallels. Yeah. And in some of our brains, it can be hard for us to think about this, especially if we're not necessarily the owner of a company to set that direction. Think about your own life. Like the days when you wake up and you know you have stuff to do, but you sit on the couch and you binge watch an entire show. Right? Some could say our morale is down those days because we were not really owning our day and enthusiastically being disciplined and consistent. So I love this topic, but think about that in your personal life, in your business life. How are these things like paralleled? It's pretty cool to think about.
I love that you did the throwback, because I also believe when morale's down, as anybody in leadership knows listening, that's the time where either people just hold on for dear life and do the bare minimum, but there can be a lot of quiet quitting happening during a morale downturn.
I think we did an episode on that too, right?
We did a quiet quitting. We also talked about your people leave when. Check those podcasts out, because I think that all ties together. But Andrew, what you said was so powerful. Is your team confident in the plan? Okay. And I think in the When Your People Leave podcast, we actually talked about when you're not clear, when you don't set clear expectations, even in a downturn. Listen, we're part of a great company, right? National company. And our founder and CEO, I love what he said in a podcast release recently. He said, listen, the downturn in the economy, the industry, real estate industry kind of going, into hibernation for a little bit. He said, it's not your fault, but it's all of our problem. Like, we're living in it. We have to go do what's necessary to stay in business. So I really love that line. It's not your fault, but it is all of our problem. Like, we have to address it. So confidence, number one, knowing, listen, if the tone is coming across like, oh no, the sky's falling, or the whisper factory starts of, is so-and-so actually leaving? Did you hear? Whatever. And that's not being addressed from the leadership. It's just left in the rumor mill whisper factory. That's going to demoralize your team. So confidence is, I think, built, communicate. Over communicate, but also communicate not just bogus stuff, the plan, and own what's going on. Hey, we've had to trim here, we've had to do this, but here's what, like Andrew said, A, B, and C is going to help us through this time. Let's go double down on it. And here's how we segue into enthusiasm. If you find anything stopping you from focusing in on the plan, let me know. I want you completely unleashed, knowing that all of your resources tied to riding the ship, to surviving this time, to whatever it is. Let me know. Opening that up. Enthusiasm has a really neat channel there. Enthusiasm is it actually stems from an old word, breath from inside. You're enthused about something. It's where we get our inspiration, sort of an idea from. Enthusiasm comes from the inside out. So that's why I use the word inspire it. Yeah. How do you light it inside? That's where you have to really start looking at, in a tough time when morale's down, you cannot become more of an A-type leader. You cannot become more of you're already decisive. Don't be a high D in this time. You need to really leverage your I in the disc profile. You need to really lean into your I during this time and start leaning into the heart of your team. Yeah. Where are they at? You need to build trust faster than ever. You have their trust. You've been their leader, but now it's a hard time. leadership is made great or it's broken down in hard times.
Yeah. Very easy to lose trust right now. It's very easy to, because of the uncertainty and the stressors that a business leader experiences.
Right.
I think we're going to do one of our next episodes is going to be on filtering some of that.
Yes,
like how do you actually filter that? Because it's so important.
Huge, guys. So
we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
But talking about how do you let those things impact you to the point where you have volatility in the way that you're leading. If your team doesn't know what to expect, how is that going to impact them in their morale?
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to hit on here would be, what are some things you can do to give your team a shot in the arm in these times? So sometimes we've exhausted everything.
Hey, I'm just going to pause. Preach it, brother.
Hey, amen. So be hallelujah. No. But what are we doing to give our teams a shot in the arm, right? So strategic partnerships. I know in our industry, we're seeing a lot of companies use this time to implement new software systems, new processes, something that's going to be a good investment for the long term of the company. Keep the people engaged because it's something new to learn. We see a lot of sales workshops. We see a lot of different things happening in our industry during this time that we think is
with
great.
The right leadership. We're seeing it with the right leadership. We're seeing an absence of it in some areas too.
Sure.
And it's shocking. It's so why wouldn't you?
So if you're listening to this and you know you haven't done that type of thing, who are you engaging to help you give your team that shot in the arm? Because that's extremely important.
Yes.
At the end of the day, sometimes we feel like the whole onus is on us to come up with all these ideas. It's not. You have people in the wings around you. You have strategic partnerships. You have look outside of your circle to look at ways you can give your team a shot of enthusiasm because it's something that's new that you're setting direction on. We can change, we can improve, and it's going to position us when the market pendulum comes back, because we all know it swings. The granddaddy clock of real estate swings back and forth.
It does.
So as it's coming back, cycles. What are you doing now to make sure you're ready to reap that harvest when it happens? And if you give your team that direction and they can be enthused about that, not concerned about their jobs, not concerned about what leader they're going to expect for that day, you're going to see your team morale come up.
Yeah, you're building confidence by communicate. You're inspiring enthusiasm by unlocking hearts. And I love that you said lean into the shot in the arm. The shot in the arm is not just platitudes of positivity. No. The shot in the arm is real life education, maybe a pivot you need to make that hasn't happened yet, maybe restructuring some things, maybe delegating or reorganizing or helping people step into some leadership roles that need to move up, promote, whatever. You have a lot of opportunity. I love in Jesse Cole's book, Fans First, I'm doing a mastermind around this book right now. And one of his chapters, the title is Constraints Foster Creativity. And I think right now in business, you have constraints on you. Okay. I think with your sales team, listen, guys, maybe the travel and entertainment is down, or you've capped some of that, where before it just was whatever it needed to be. Listen, guys, maybe do a mastermind brainstorm with the sales team right now. What are some ways we can do very low cost with high payoff? And just listen. Right? What are some things we can go do? And literally, I think by listening, unlocking the heart, we now segue into practicing discipline. What has to happen? What do we need to move to make the pivot? Boom. To go trim costs, to whatever? Those are disciplines. Discipline is not easy. It was not meant to be. In fact, I wrote somebody a note the other day and I said, do hard things. Do hard things, because we preach this on the show. The attitude of leadership is all about doing hard things. It is easy to run over your people. It is easy to show up on Zoom or in a team meeting with the wrong tone. It is hard.
I thought you were going to say the wrong hoodie.
To show you go out with the wrong hoodie too. That's good. Anyhow, it is hard to actually live and operate with an emotional intelligence. That is hard. That's skill. It takes skill and practice and discipline. So practicing discipline on our team, especially right now, means have those tough conversations, what needs to happen, and then going and following up, setting some KPIs or OKRs, whatever you measure by in your company around those disciplines, and then following up with those. Choose your morale.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I think that kind of brings us home with this episode.
Yeah.
And it really is listen, shot in the arm, and be very, very, very extremely clear on what that framework needs to be for your team.
Right.
And let them go pursue that with confidence.
Right.
I mean, Nothing more to add here.
Yeah.
I think there were some good takeaways for all of us. I was listening to some of the things you're talking about, thinking of ways I can implement that in my life. And I love that you talked about discipline is doing the hard. Simply discipline is making the choice to do what you know needs to be done. That's simply what discipline is. And it's in our lives, it's easy to choose the easy choice of not doing the things we know need to be done, right? So just take this episode, run with it during this time, give your team that empowerment and that confidence to go pursue.
Yeah. Morale is chosen. Chosen is an action. Go act, go choose it, and go develop it with your team. More power to you, listener, leader, lean in. This is a time when hard times are when leaders are made. So I'm excited to be made further, develop myself further. And you too, Andrew.
100%, man. All right.
Thanks for hanging with the Hoopers.
Yep.